If you think attraction is always loud, obvious, and easy to read, you've already missed the most powerful signals a woman can give. Because the truth is, when a younger woman is drawn to an older man, she rarely says it directly. She doesn't announce it. She reveals it quietly, subtly, and sometimes in ways that most men completely overlook. And by the time you realize it, the moment has already passed. There's something deeply misunderstood about attraction between younger women and older men. People assume it's about age, status, or experience alone. But what they fail to see is the emotional language behind it, the unspoken signals, the energy shifts. The small behaviors that carry far more meaning than words ever could. A younger woman doesn't chase the way you expect. She doesn't always flirt the way you've been taught to recognize. Instead, she communicates through presence, through attention, through curiosity that feels almost intentional. And if you don't know how to read it, you will mistake her interest for politeness, her curiosity for coincidence, and her effort for nothing at all. Imagine this: you're having a normal conversation, nothing special, nothing dramatic, but she lingers. Just a little longer than necessary. She asks one more question when the conversation should have ended. She looks at you not just to respond, but to understand. There's a softness in her tone, but also a quiet confidence. This is where most men get it wrong. They're waiting for bold signals, obvious attraction, something undeniable. But a younger woman who is drawn to an older man often moves differently. She's not trying to impress you the way she would someone her own age. She's trying to connect with you in a way that feels meaningful, safe, and real. And that's the first thing she does. She becomes deeply curious about your mind, not your money, not your possessions, not even your appearance in the traditional sense. She wants to know how you think, how you see the world, what shaped you, what broke you, what built you again. She listens differently. When she's not interested, her attention drifts, her responses are short, she's present but not invested. But when she's hitting on you in her own quiet way, she leans in, not always physically, but emotionally. She remembers the small details you mention. She brings them up later, almost casually, but it's never accidental. And here's the deeper truth. A younger woman who is attracted to an older man isn't looking for noise. She's looking for depth, so she tests it, not with games, but with subtle emotional invitations. She might ask you about your past, but not in a superficial way. She might challenge your opinions, not to argue, but to see how grounded you are. She watches how you respond to pressure, to disagreement, to vulnerability. Because what she's really asking is this: are you the man you appear to be? And when you pass those silent tests, something shifts. Her energy becomes warmer. Her presence becomes more consistent. She finds reasons to be around you, even if those reasons don't seem obvious at first. It could be a simple message, a question she didn't really need to ask, a moment she extends just a little longer than necessary. This is her way of stepping closer without risking too much. You see, a younger woman is often aware of the age difference. She knows the assumptions people make. She knows the risks of being misunderstood. So instead of making bold moves, she creates space for you to notice her. And most men don't. They either overreact and become too eager, or they completely miss it and remain passive. But the man who understands this dynamic moves differently. He doesn't rush, he doesn't assume, he observes. Because he knows that real attraction isn't always loud. Sometimes it whispers. And when you learn to listen to those whispers, you begin to see things most men never do. You begin to notice how she positions herself around you, not always physically close, but within your environment. Within your awareness, she becomes part of your space in a way that feels natural, but intentional. She might not touch you, she might not flirt openly, but she creates familiarity, comfort, a sense of presence that slowly becomes undeniable. And here's where it becomes even more powerful. She starts aligning herself with you, not in a forced way, not in a way that feels fake, but in subtle, almost subconscious ways. She agrees with certain perspectives. She shows interest in things you value. She mirrors your energy not perfectly, but enough to create connection. This is not manipulation. This is attraction expressing itself through emotional alignment. Because when a younger woman sees something in an older man that resonates with her, she doesn't try to compete with it. She tries to understand it, and in that understanding, she begins to connect. But this is also where many men sabotage the moment. They either dismiss her interest as casual or they become overly confident and assume too much. Both are mistakes. Because the truth is, her signals are delicate. They require awareness, patience, and emotional intelligence. And if you don't have those things, you will either crush the connection or let it slip away entirely. There's a quiet strength required to navigate this kind of attraction, a calm presence, a grounded energy, the ability to read between the lines without forcing meaning where there is none, because not every smile means interest. But not every silence means indifference either, and the man who understands the difference is the man who stands out without trying. This is where the real game changes. Because once she feels that you see her, not just her actions, but her intentions, she begins to open up in ways that are deeper, more honest, and far more meaningful than surface level attraction. She becomes more expressive, more playful, more comfortable showing her personality without hesitation. And at that point, it's no longer just curiosity, it becomes connection, but getting to that point requires you to slow down, to stop chasing obvious signs, to stop expecting attraction to look the same in every situation. Because when a younger woman is hitting on an older man, she's not following a script. She's writing her own. And if you're not paying attention, you'll never read it. There's a moment, very subtle, almost invisible, where her behavior begins to change in a way that only a perceptive man will notice. It's not dramatic, it's not sudden, it's a quiet shift in how she chooses to show up around you. She starts becoming more intentional. Not louder, not more obvious, but more deliberate. You'll notice that she begins to create small, almost innocent opportunities to interact with you. A message that could have waited but didn't. A question she already knew the answer to but chose to ask you anyway. Any reason, to step into your space without making it seem like she's trying. And this is where most men misread the situation. They think she's just being friendly, but friendliness has boundaries. It comes and goes. It doesn't seek consistency. It doesn't create patterns. What she's doing is creating patterns. She begins to show up repeatedly in ways that feel natural but are actually intentional. You start noticing her presence more often. Conversations with her don't feel random anymore. They feel like they're slowly building into something. And here's the deeper layer. She becomes emotionally available in a way that is selective. With most people, she might keep things light, surface level, easy. But with you, she allows small pieces of her real self to come through, not everything at once, just enough to see how you handle it. She might share a personal story, something from her past, a moment of vulnerability that isn't dramatic, but real. And then she watches you, not your words alone, but your reaction. Do you dismiss it? Do you rush to fix it? Do you turn it into something about yourself? Or do you simply understand it, because that's what she's searching for? Understanding without pressure, presence without performance, and when she feels that from you, something inside her relaxes. She no longer feels like she has to impress you. She no longer feels like she has to compete for your attention. Instead, she begins to trust the space between you, and that's when her attraction deepens. You'll start to notice a shift in her energy. She becomes more playful, but not in a childish way, in a way that feels safe. She teases you slightly, challenges you in small ways, not to provoke you, but to see how you carry yourself when the dynamic becomes more personal. Because attraction isn't just about admiration, it's about interaction, and she wants to know, how do you respond when things become less formal, less controlled, more human? Does your confidence stay grounded, or does it become fragile? Does your presence remain calm, or does it become reactive? These moments matter more than anything you could ever say, because a younger woman who is drawn to an older man isn't just looking for maturity in words, she's looking for stability in behavior. And she tests that not through confrontation, but through subtle emotional shifts. Now here's something even more important. She begins to pay attention to how you see her, not just how you treat her, but how you perceive her. If you reduce her to her age, her appearance, or something surface level, she will slowly pull back. Not because she's offended, but because she realizes you don't truly see her. But if you acknowledge her depth, her thoughts, her individuality, she leans in. Because now she feels understood, not categorized, and that feeling is rare, especially for a younger woman who is often judged quickly, labeled easily, and rarely seen beyond the surface. So when she finds a man who looks beyond that, she becomes more invested, but she still won't say it directly. Instead, she'll show it through consistency, and this is the point where everything either deepens or quietly disappears. Because now, the connection is no longer accidental. It's no longer something you can dismiss as coincidence. There is a rhythm between you, an unspoken understanding, a tension that isn't uncomfortable but alive. And she feels it just as much as you do. But here's what most men don't realize. This is the stage where she becomes more aware of the risk. Up until now, she's been exploring, observing, testing the emotional ground beneath her feet. But once the connection becomes real, once it starts to matter, she becomes more careful. Not distant, just more aware. You might notice that she pulls back slightly, not completely, but enough to create space. Not because she's losing interest, but because she's measuring yours. Because now the question has changed. It's no longer, is he interesting? It becomes, is he consistent? This is where many men fail without even realizing it. They interpret her slight distance as disinterest. They panic. They either chase harder or withdraw completely. And in doing so, they disrupt the balance that was quietly building between them. But a grounded man understands this shift. He doesn't react impulsively. He remains steady because he knows that her pullback isn't rejection, it's reflection. She's watching to see if your energy changes when hers does. She's observing whether your attention was genuine or conditional. And this is where your emotional discipline matters more than anything. Do you stay calm? Do you remain present without becoming overwhelming? Do you continue to engage without seeking reassurance? Because in this moment, she is not testing your interest. She is testing your stability, and stability is what draws her deeper. Now here's where it becomes even more profound. She begins to open up in a way that is no longer subtle. Not in words like "I like you" or "I'm interested." No. It's deeper than that. She starts sharing parts of herself that she doesn't show easily, her fears, her doubts, the things she's still figuring out about life, about relationships, about herself. And when she does this, she's not just being vulnerable. She's inviting you into her world, but this invitation comes with a silent question. Can you handle the truth of who I am without trying to change me? Because a younger woman who is genuinely drawn to an older man isn't looking to be controlled. She's looking to be understood. And if you try to guide too much, correct too quickly, or impose your experience onto her journey, she will feel it. And she will slowly begin to close off again, not because she doesn't respect you, but because she no longer feels safe being fully herself around you. This is why presence matters more than advice, listening matters more than leading, and understanding matters more than impressing. Because what she's truly drawn to is not just your age or your experience. It's your ability to hold space without judgment. Now pay attention to this next shift. Her admiration becomes more visible. She starts to look at you differently, not just with curiosity, but with respect. There's a quiet appreciation in her eyes when you speak, when you carry yourself, when you respond to situations with calm and clarity. She may not say it directly, but you'll feel it, in the way she listens more attentively, in the way she values your perspective, in the way she subtly seeks your approval, not out of need, but out of genuine respect. And this is where the connection transforms. Because now it's no longer just attraction. It becomes influence, not control, not dominance, but influence built on trust. And when a woman trusts you, truly trusts you, she allows herself to be seen in a way that is rare. She becomes more open, more expressive, more willing to invest emotionally in the connection. But even here, even at this deeper level, she still won't hand it to you directly. She will still leave space for you to step forward, because no matter how strong her attraction is, she wants to know that you are choosing her consciously, not reacting to her, not being led by her signals, but seeing them, understanding them, and deciding to meet her halfway. And this is where your awareness becomes your power, because if you've been paying attention from the beginning, you'll recognize everything she's been showing you. The curiosity, the consistency, the vulnerability, the subtle pullback, the deeper openness, it's all been leading to this moment. A moment where the connection is no longer hidden, but not yet defined. And what you do here determines everything. Do you rush to label it? Do you hesitate and let it drift? Or do you step into it with calm certainty? Because the truth is, she's already told you how she feels, not with words, but with everything she's shown you. And if you've truly understood her language, you won't need her to say it. You'll feel it. And more importantly, you'll know exactly how to respond. And now you arrive at the quiet edge of something real. Not imagined, not one-sided, not confusing anymore, real. But here's the part that separates a man who experiences fleeting moments from a man who builds something meaningful out of them. What you do next is not about impressing her, it's about revealing yourself. Because up until this point, she has been the one slowly opening the door. She has been the one showing you pieces of her world, testing your presence, measuring your stability, inviting you in without ever forcing the moment. Now it's your turn, and this is where many men hesitate. They've become comfortable reading her signals, enjoying her attention, feeling the connection grow, but when the moment arrives to respond with clarity, they step back into uncertainty. They overthink, they question, they wait for something even more obvious, and in doing so, they miss the moment completely. Because the truth is, there is no louder signal coming. This is it, not a grand confession, not a dramatic reveal. Just a quiet, undeniable connection waiting for you to meet it. A grounded man understands that he doesn't need perfect timing. He needs honest timing, so he doesn't rush, but he also doesn't hide. He begins to match her openness with his own. Not all at once, not overwhelming her, but enough to let her feel that she's not alone in what she's been building. He shares his thoughts more personally. He allows his tone to soften when he speaks to her. He gives her a glimpse of his world, not the polished version, but the real one. Because connection deepens when it becomes mutual, and here's the shift that changes everything. You stop observing her and you start engaging with her. Not as someone you're trying to figure out, but as someone you've chosen to understand. Your presence becomes more intentional. Your attention becomes more focused. You don't scatter your energy, you direct it, and she feels that immediately. Because a younger woman who has been expressing her interest quietly notices very quickly when a man finally sees her clearly. She feels the difference between passive attention and chosen attention, and when she feels chosen, not chased, not pressured, but genuinely chosen, her energy changes again. She becomes more relaxed, more certain, more open to letting the connection become something real. But this only happens if your actions align with your awareness. If you've understood her signals, but you fail to respond with clarity, she will begin to doubt everything she felt. Not because she was wronged, but because you remained unclear, and uncertainty slowly erodes connection. So, what does clarity look like in this moment? It's not a rehearsed line, it's not a dramatic declaration. It's something much simpler and much more powerful. It's consistency, it's presence, it's the courage to make your interest known without overwhelming her. It might be in the way you choose to spend more time with her intentionally, the way you give her your attention without distractions, the way you communicate, not just when it's convenient, but when it matters. It's in the way you create moments instead of waiting for them. Because at this stage, she's no longer asking, "Does he notice me?" She's asking, "Does he choose me?" And your answer is not in what you say. It's in what you do repeatedly. Now here's the most important truth of all. If you handle this moment with calm confidence, with emotional clarity, with genuine intention, you don't just create attraction, you create trust, and trust is what turns a quiet connection into something lasting. But if you hesitate too long, if you stay passive, if you expect her to do all the emotional work, she will slowly step back. Not dramatically, not with anger, but with quiet acceptance that you were never going to meet her where she stood. And that's how most meaningful connections fade, not because they weren't real, but because they were never fully embraced. So understand this deeply. When a younger woman is hitting on an older man, she's not just expressing attraction. She's offering a connection carefully, subtly, and with emotional awareness. And if you are present enough to recognize it, then you also carry the responsibility to respond to it. Not perfectly, but honestly, because in the end, it's not about age. It's not about experience. It's about two people meeting each other in a moment of truth and choosing not to look away. And now let this sink in. Not every connection in your life will arrive with noise. Not every moment of attraction will announce itself with certainty. Some of the most powerful, life-changing connections will come quietly wrapped in subtlety, hidden in small gestures, carried through presence rather than words. And if you are not aware, you will miss them. But if you've listened carefully, if you've understood the depth behind everything we've just uncovered, then you now see what most men never do. You see that when a younger woman is drawn to an older man, she doesn't just show interest, she reveals it in layers. Through curiosity, through consistency, through emotional openness, through the way she slowly allows you into her world without ever forcing the moment. And the real question was never, is she interested? The real question has always been, are you aware enough to recognize it and strong enough to respond to it? Because awareness without action means nothing, and action without understanding destroys everything. So what you must carry forward from this is simple but not easy. Slow down, pay attention, stop chasing what is loud, and start understanding what is real. Because real connection doesn't compete for attention, it waits for recognition. And when you recognize it, when you meet it with calm, grounded confidence, when you respond not from ego, not from fear, but from clarity, you don't just attract. You connect, you don't just impress, you impact, and more importantly, you create something that is not built on illusion, but on truth. So, the next time you find yourself in that quiet moment, that subtle exchange, that unspoken tension that feels different from everything else, don't ignore it. Don't rush it and don't doubt it, understand it, respect it, and when the moment calls for it, step into it. Because the opportunities that change your life rarely come twice. They come once quietly, and they wait for the man who is present enough to see them and courageous enough to claim them. And when you become that man, everything changes. She'll be present when she doesn't have to be. She'll listen when she doesn't need to. She'll support in small, quiet ways that don't draw attention, but leave an impact. And this is where things become even more delicate. Because now the connection is real, but it's still unspoken. And if you rush it, you risk breaking the very thing she's slowly building. If you ignore it, you risk losing it completely. So, what does a grounded man do in this moment? He doesn't force clarity. He allows it to unfold. He meets her energy without overwhelming it. He acknowledges her presence without making it heavy. He creates a space where she feels safe to continue expressing herself without pressure, because he understands something most men don't. Attraction grows best in an environment of patience, not urgency, and when you operate from that place, something powerful happens. She begins to reveal more of her intentions not through words, but through actions that become increasingly clear. Her eye contact lingers just a little longer. Her tone softens when she speaks to you. There's a difference in how she interacts with you compared to others, and it becomes noticeable, even undeniable. But still, it's not loud. It's not obvious to everyone. It's something only you can truly recognize. And that's what makes it meaningful, because it's not for attention, it's for connection. And if you're paying attention, you'll realize that what she's doing isn't random at all. It's a quiet, intentional way of saying, I see you, I trust you, and I'm slowly letting you see me too. But whether that connection grows or fades depends entirely on how you respond next.